The night air was thick with a humid weight, the kind that clung to your skin and made every breath feel heavier than it should. The deserted stretch of highway outside Fairburn, Georgia, was bathed in an eerie glow under flickering streetlights, their halos blurring into the darkness. Along that road, a sleek black SUV glided smoothly, its tires humming against the asphalt in a steady rhythm. Inside the car, a man named Nathaniel Brooks sat behind the wheel, his right hand resting lightly at the 12 o'clock position. His left tapped gently against his thigh, an old habit picked up from decades of command and decision-making. Nathaniel, at 52, had the quiet strength of a man who had faced storms most couldn't even imagine. The creases lining his forehead and the graying at his temples did little to diminish the commanding presence he carried, a presence honed through years as a senior colonel at the Pentagon. The day had been long. He had just wrapped up a week-long strategy summit at headquarters, a meeting that pulled in the highest ranks of military command to outline upcoming defense policies. It was draining, but Nathaniel was used to pressure, used to the impossible demands that came with defending a nation often blind to the sacrifices required. Tonight, however, he wasn't thinking about global security or strategic deployments. His mind was set on home, on the simple comfort of a familiar bed, a glass of bourbon, and a few hours where no one demanded anything from him. He barely noticed the police cruiser until the red and blue lights splashed against his rearview mirror, pulling him sharply from his thoughts. A frown formed at the corner of his mouth as the sirens wailed, a discordant sound that shattered the night's relative peace. Nathaniel signaled and slowly pulled over. His breathing stayed even. This wasn't new. A black man driving an expensive car at night? It was an invitation to suspicion, and Nathaniel had lived that truth more times than he cared to count. Two officers stepped out of the patrol car, both white, both carrying themselves with the self-assured arrogance that comes with unchecked authority. One was short, thick around the waist, with a buzz cut that only emphasized his square jaw. The other was tall and lean, his face sharp, eyes even sharper, cold, calculating. Nathaniel kept his hands visible, gripping the wheel loosely. It's the first rule, he reminded himself. Don't give them a reason. Don't let them spin their fear into justification. A heavy knock sounded on the window. Nathaniel rolled it down halfway, letting the damp night air flow into the cabin. License and registration, barked the short one. Nathaniel met his eyes steadily. May I ask why I was stopped, officer? The man smirked. Didn't signal when you changed lanes. Now, papers. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. He knew he had signaled. It was a reflex, drilled into him by decades of discipline. But arguing wouldn't change anything. Moving slowly, deliberately, he retrieved his wallet and handed over the documents. The officer barely glanced at them. Nathaniel Brooks, he read aloud with mock casualness. No hint of recognition crossed his face. The taller officer leaned down, peering into the SUV's leather interior. Nice ride. Yours. Yes. Sure you didn't borrow it, he asked, the insinuation thick and ugly. Nathaniel inhaled slowly, willing himself to remain still, to not react. Out of the car. Now. The demand came sharp, punctuated by the unmistakable click of a gun safety being released. Nathaniel didn't move. On what grounds? Because I said so, the shorter cop barked, waving his weapon threateningly. Nathaniel stayed still, silent. The taller cop, badge-reading Officer Todd Winters, smirked and added, Or are you too good to follow orders, boy? That word, that centuries-old brand of disrespect, sat heavy between them. Nathaniel's fingers tightened against the steering wheel. He thought of men he had led in combat, black, white, brown, all unified in blood and brotherhood. And yet here, on home soil, he was once again reduced to nothing but his skin. Slowly, with precision honed from 1,000 battlefield encounters, Nathaniel opened the door and stepped out. Hands up, head high. The shorter officer, badge-reading Deputy Rick Connors, moved forward, gun still trained squarely on Nathaniel's chest. Get on your knees. No. Connors' face twisted in anger. He shoved Nathaniel hard, but Nathaniel held his ground. You think you're better than me? Connors spat. Nathaniel's voice was low, controlled. I think I'm an American citizen, and I know my rights. A hard kick to the back of his knee sent Nathaniel sprawling to the pavement. Pebbles bit into his skin. The humiliation burned more than the impact. Stay down, Welfare king, Winters jeered. Nathaniel bit back the anger rising in his throat. He had survived worse. He would survive this too. Connors rummaged through the SUV, tossing papers, inspecting compartments, pulling apart the neat order Nathaniel had kept. It was an illegal search, blatant and brazen. You have no warrant, Nathaniel said sharply. Connors shrugged. We don't need one. A lie. Another one. When Winters bent close, sneering into his ear, Nathaniel whispered, almost too softly to hear, You're making the worst mistake of your lives. They laughed. Loud, derisive. Nathaniel slowly, carefully reached into his shirt pocket and pulled out his phone. A warning barked from Connors. Hands where I can see him. But Nathaniel moved with military precision. He dialed a number from memory. It rang once. General Marshall speaking. Sir, this is Colonel Nathaniel Brooks. I need assistance. Immediate. Silence. Then, cold steel in the general's voice. Location. Nathaniel rattled off the street markers. Behind him, Connors and Winters exchanged a glance. The laughter was gone from their faces. Nathaniel ended the call. Quietly. Then took a photo. A clear shot of both officers, their name tags visible. You'll regret that, Connors growled. No, Nathaniel said, standing slowly, brushing dust from his slacks. You will. Seconds later, the radio clipped to Connors' shoulder crackled sharply. Unit 417, you are ordered to release the detainee immediately. Stand down. Repeat, stand down. The transformation was immediate. Connors' face blanched. Winters took a half step back. Nathaniel reached into his coat pocket, producing his ID. It gleamed under the streetlights. Colonel Nathaniel Brooks, United States Army, Pentagon. Connors swallowed hard. Sir, we didn't know. Nathaniel's eyes narrowed. Would it have mattered if I wasn't? Silence. In the distance, more sirens. But not regular patrol units. This time, the sleek black SUVs of internal affairs, their insignias glinting ominously. A man stepped out. Inspector Damon Reynolds, a hard-edged veteran of police investigations, flanked by two agents. What do we have here? Reynolds asked, surveying the scene. He took one look at Nathaniel's ID, then turned to Connors and Winters with a fury that promised no mercy. Body cam footage was retrieved. Played. Heard. Every racist taunt. Every illegal threat. Every word was recorded. Indelible. The verdict was swift. Connors and Winters were suspended on the spot, stripped of their badges right there by the roadside. Nathaniel didn't gloat. He didn't cheer. He simply stood tall, embodying the dignity they had tried, and failed, to steal. But Nathaniel wasn't finished. I want a full investigation, he said calmly. And I want reform. Not just here. Everywhere. And so it began. The footage went viral. Media outlets picked up the story, headlines blaring. Decorated Army colonel harassed by local police. The mayor held emergency meetings. The police chief resigned in disgrace. A federal inquiry was launched into the town's entire department. Nathaniel testified before Congress 6 weeks later, standing beneath the Capitol dome, a living embodiment of both the injustice and the unyielding spirit that defined America's ongoing struggle with itself. Policy changes followed. Mandatory de-escalation training, implicit bias testing, increased oversight. For many, Nathaniel became a hero. For him, it was never about fame. It was about justice, about ensuring no one else, soldier or civilian, would face what he did that night. Months later, as summer faded into fall, Nathaniel drove the same highway where it all began. This time, there were no flashing lights behind him, no shouts demanding submission, only the open road, stretching endlessly before him. A road built not just on concrete and steel, but on dignity, resilience, and hard-won change. And Nathaniel Brooks, soldier, survivor, citizen, drove onward into a future he had helped shape with nothing more than courage, patience, and the quiet, unbreakable power of knowing who he was.